if I could interrupt me playing the guitar for a minute, let me put it down for a minute. I'll just lower it. Hold on a second. Guys, I want to talk about Karen Chaston. She is an amazing author, and she's got an amazing story, guys. And she definitely is one of the world's most amazing people. So I'll just start by telling you can go to KarenChaston.com.au, and you can also go to livelovebydesign.com. And let me tell you a little bit about her if you haven't heard her interview yet. It should be coming up in a couple minutes. So listen to WMAP for this great guest right here. But Karen started with a master's degree in accounting. So she ran, according to her, these are her words, she ran on the corporate treadmill until the day the world came tumbling down on her head. And that day happened to be a tragedy. It was when her son died at the age of 27. So her suffering and her disappointments became the catalyst for personal and professional growth. So a lot of people could take it one way, a lot of people could take it another way. She chose to do it the path less taken, whatever that saying is. But she did what a lot of people couldn't do, and myself included. Karen realized how unhealthy, diseased, and over-adrenalized she was as a CFO. She's the first to admit that she more or less turned into a man in order to get ahead in her previous corporate roles. So her title as a CFO of Natural Leisure and Gaming from April 08 to February 13, this is all leading up to the great work that she's doing now. I mean, and you can add on when in June 2015 she was a co-host of the Inspiring Pearls of Wisdom radio show, where friends came together to share inspirational gems, allowing you to realize and value that you're unique. That show is available at inspiringpearlsofwisdom.podbean.com. And but don't forget, the most important one is Karen Chaston. And I'm not taking phone calls during commercials. But Karen Chaston, go to livelovebydesign.com. And she'll be on the show in a minute, so hang tight.
All right, guys, you heard that commercial or ad or spot or whatever you want to call it about the wonderful Karen Chaston, and we have her here today with us to speak, as you guys have heard her before, and I always love talking with her, and I know I always say that, but it's true. I really do love getting to speak with her, so I'm so glad she's here today. Hey, Karen, how are you doing?
Good, thanks, Kellie, and thank you so much. I love chatting with you as well.
Yes, definitely. And you know, we've talked about many topics, and today we're going to talk about something that I know that's really near and dear to your heart. It's the Live Love Teen Project, and I definitely want to get into that, but I kind of want to just go back for a second because we've talked about this before, but we haven't talked about it in a while. I know you suffered a great loss with your son, and I just wanted to ask if you could just tell us about that again.
Okay. Well, at the time, as Casey just said, I was, a CFO of a publicly listed company. And then on the 10th of July, 2011, it was a Sunday morning. My husband and I had slept in thinking we're going to have a lazy Sunday at home sort of day, which we all love and enjoy. I'm pretty sure it's the same over there. Nothing better than just recuperating. And unfortunately, when my husband went outside to take the rubbish out, he sort of called back upstairs and he went, "Bloody hell, Dan is asleep at our back door." Now, Dan, our 27-year-old son, was living with us with his girlfriend, and he'd gone out separately to her. And he got home around 2:30, and when he bent down to pick up his key, because he had left it out, so Georgie had left it out for him, he sort of fell over, everything shook up, and sure, he had had too much to drink. But what actually happened was his lungs had failed him, and he passed away at our back door.
Wow. That must have just been, I don't even know how to describe it, how to, what you felt when you went through that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's the last thing you expect. You always think, you're going to be buried by your kids. You're not going to have to bury any of your children, that's for sure. But you know what? At the time, I was just so into my masculine, so into my success, and I didn't know how to be a grieving mother. I didn't want to be a grieving mother. I knew how to be a CFO, so I just more or less went straight back to work, which obviously wasn't good. It was disrespectful to Dan. It was disrespectful to myself. But that was, at the time, I was in what I like to call my Groundhog Day days, where things and working and, ignoring me was sort of just the everyday way to do things, which is certainly not the way we're meant to be living our life. But you know what? It took me even another 15, 18 months to actually even start to go, okay, what's going on here? Because then I was meant to wake up when Dan passed. I totally believe that Dan actually saved my life by him passing, because about 15 months later, when two companies were merging together, I chose redundancy, which was to be laid off, which was the best thing that ever happened, because I needed to take what I call my conscious loving breath to actually go, now, wait a minute, what are you doing? Like, is this really how you want to live your life? Like, you're overweight, you're drinking too much, you're eating too much. Dan passed and nothing happened. And now there's no respect. Like, what are you going to do? And that's where I sort of went on what I like to call Life University, and I created the Live, Love, by Design brand, which is all about helping people to actually embrace all 9 areas of their life, which I've put into 4 pillars: all about you, all about your relationships, all about your expertise, and all about your wealth creation. Now, that's the order you should do things. You should look after you, then you should look after your relationships, then you should look after your expertise, your business, your professional life, and through all of that, you'll get your wealth creation. But most people are doing it the other way around. They're just looking at their wealth and how can they get more and more and more. And they wonder why they're feeling unfulfilled, and they're wondering why they have this big hole inside of them. And it's never, ever going to be filled until they come back to who they are.
Yes, that is so true. And we've been able to speak about that before. And I want to give our listeners your website, which is livelovebydesign.com. So if they want to find out more about that program, they can go there. And today we're going to be talking about the Live Love Teen Project. Now, I wanted to ask, how did this come into fruition, and what made you want to start this?
Okay, so when you start to look at who you are, you start to look and start to really understand that who you are today is a sum of all of your experiences. That's what's created who you are. Good, bad, whatever they are. And to be quite honest, there is no such thing as good and bad. There's just an experience. And it's about you learning the lessons from every sort of experience and figuring out, I could have done that better. How can I do that better next time? Or that was just right. Or, maybe next time I could, not be so forceful or not do something. And then I started to look back to when I was 16, I found myself pregnant. Not really sure how that happened. Yes, I am. And there's an old joke that used to say, I'm pregnant. I finally figured out what's happened. I'll have to put a stop to that, as if sort of thing. But anyway, I digress. So I found myself pregnant, and, it was 1973, and it was very much, shunned in society, and it still is today, but it was completely, everything had to be a secret, and I was, from a good Catholic family, so this was certainly, we don't tell anyone about this, and to be quite honest, my mother's mother never ever knew. That's because, in Mum's opinion, she had a big mouth, and Mum was from a big family, and she didn't want her brothers to, know what her daughter's been up to. Like, pathetic, really pathetic. But anyway, that was the time. So I chose to adopt my daughter out, and through the times, it's obviously, I would love to have been able to live a sliding doors life, to actually see, even though I love who I am today, and I understand that experience is a huge part of it, because just imagine, right, 1973, I am in a labour ward by myself. My parents were not allowed to be there.
Wow.
Giving birth, and it was a difficult birth. I really should have had a Caesar.
Yeah.
Like for my other two pregnancies, when I had my 3 boys, because I had twins, I had Caesars, right? So I should have had a Caesar. But the doctor said, no, she's too young for a Caesar. We don't want to scar her that way, because in 1973, the Caesar went from your navel down, whereas when I had my son in 81, it went across the pubic bone. So it was completely different sort of scarring. And that gave me my courage for life. That gave me my strength. And it was literally like, well, if I can do that, I can do anything. And so it is a grounding, obviously, for me, but it was very traumatic. And at the time, I had 2 girlfriends who were also pregnant. One chose to get married, and then a couple of years later, the other friend was pregnant, and she chose abortion. So I wrote a book, and it's called Teenagers Playing Grown-Ups. And in that book, there's 4 stories. So it's the 4 stories of teenage girls. So one gets married, one has an abortion, one chooses motherhood, as in single motherhood, and the other adopts their child out. And through that, and the plan is for me to write a 4-week miniseries, but I've been saying that for a couple of years, so I need to really get onto that one, because I think it'll be a great, not only as a miniseries for TV or Netflix or somewhere like that, but I think it'll be a really great miniseries to actually show in high schools, to actually help the young women and men to make the decision before they actually fall pregnant, to actually decide which option would you choose if this happened to you. And don't be naive like I was and say this will never happen to me. Yeah. Because believe me, things happen and you don't know, and it really is a Russian roulette. Like, I wasn't the only one of my friends having sex. Most people at my school were having sex. And obviously I fell pregnant and a lot of them didn't. So you just don't know. So I'm really passionate and the Live, Love, Give Back to Teens project is about giving the wisdom of my Live, Love by Design programs to young women. If I had had the wisdom that these programs actually give you, the awareness, the different perspectives, just starting with design what success means to you. Like, so many people never do that. I know people in their 60s and 70s who have never designed their life. They have just let life take them along, and they wonder why they never ended up where they wanted to be. They wondered why they have so many regrets in their life. Whereas if you're consciously designing it, and this isn't a once-a-year thing on New Year's Day or anything like that, this is a weekly thing. You're always checking in to see where you're at, where you want to be. So you're always up-leveling. And this is the wisdom that I really want to give back to young women. No matter, and I'm really like to target young women who have had an unexpected pregnancy in their teens or 20s, something that has thrown them off course. We all sort of go, this is who I want to be when I grow up, and then something happens and all of a sudden those dreams are pushed to the side. But they don't have to be. You can just readjust a little bit, and you can still create everything. So that's where I'm passionate about giving back to these young women. Because let's face it, a lot of times they get a bad rap. Sure, they made one mistake. Sure, they had unprotected sex. Big deal. Like, how many of us have done that?
Exactly.
Seriously.
It doesn't make them terrible people.
No, and they're trying to get ahead in life. They're trying to do the right thing by their family if they've chosen to keep it. Or they're trying to live with this dark secret. And I don't care whether you have kept your baby, adopted your baby, aborted your baby. You are always going to wonder if you made the right choice at that time. It's going to be with you for the rest of your life. You cannot have another human being inside you for however long that baby was there and not wonder.
Yeah.
I don't care what any woman says, and I have met a lot of women who have aborted their babies and have always wondered, did I make the right choice? And they did make the right choice for that time, for what they knew. Mm-hmm. Sure, they may have made a different choice a week later, a year later. It doesn't matter, but it is about learning to actually live and love who you are. And that's what this program really does. It helps you to design the life that you truly do live and love each and every day.
Wow. I mean, I think it's really incredible that you started this and that you're giving these, young women like a place to go and just, the help that they would be able to maybe not find in other places. Because I think a lot of times when women get pregnant at a young age, they feel they may not have someone to turn to, or they may not have that supportive family system in place. And I think it can be very scary and very lonely.
And there's a lot of judgment. Like, there is no judgment. I have no judgment on anything, because when you have judgment, you're in your ego and you think, well, I know better than you, I'm better than you, so I can judge you. Whereas when you sit back and you truly are not in your ego and you're in a different awareness, you're actually in a, how can I give back, how can I help heal like society, like humanity. Let's face it, we need healing. Yeah. We have so many judgments, so many, this is the way you live life, this is the religion you should have, this is what you should do on a daily basis. And who says your way of life is the only way of life, the right way of life? It's all about living your life and allowing people to live the life that they choose to live.
Exactly. And there should be no one set way to live. I mean, everyone's going to take a different path. Not everyone's going to do things the exact same way, and people are going to make mistakes, or things that they may think are mistakes may turn out to be the best thing that they've ever done.
Exactly. Like how tragic was Dan's passing. It was really horrible. But he has, through his passing and through his guidance from the other side, and I have to tell you, he is constantly guiding me. He is constantly showing me that he's aware. Everything I have created, my books, my website, my programs, I give credit to him. Like, seriously, the things that come to me, like, they weren't even in my psyche. I'm an accountant. I'm writing books. You know what I mean? Like, as if a book was ever going to be inside of me. And it's so funny, when I wanted to write the Teenagers Playing Grown-Ups book, I actually approached one of my school friends, the one who had the abortion, to see if she would write her story. And she was like, no, I'm not writing my story, and don't you dare write my story. And I haven't. The story in there is not her story. But I have to tell you, she said to me, what do you mean you're going to write a book? You were crap at English at school. And I went, yeah, I was. But that was 40 years ago. Mm-hmm. I've done some stuff since then. I can write a book. And she said, I should write a book. And I said, you can write a book. Just because I'm writing a book doesn't mean you can't write a book. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we live in a lack mentality society, where we just think, well, if you do it, I can't. And that's our biggest problem, is there's enough for everyone. There's an infinite number for everyone. And once we get into that sort of mindset of actually understanding, the more we give, the more we can actually receive. And the more that we have, the more that others can have as well. Because we're not meant to be here just to survive. That's our first derivative of the subconscious mind. Our second derivative is to thrive. And most people can't get past that survival mentality to actually thrive. And that's what I love about this Give Back to Teens project. It's about helping them to understand, okay, at the moment they may be in a little bit of survival. Mm-hmm. They're trying to do the right thing by their family. They're trying to get ahead. They're trying to, be a good member of society. And through the principles that I teach them through this program, they actually can become this valued member, not only of their family, but also in society, where they can actually show people it doesn't matter what choices you've made when you were younger. You can actually move beyond that, learn from them, grow from them, and become this amazing person. Like, for a lot of times I did have that mentality of a pregnant teen. Mm-hmm. And let's face it, that mentality has been shunned in society for a long time.
Of course. Definitely. It still is today. I mean, when we see someone who's a pregnant teenager, generally the automatic thought to most people is, wow, what a mistake, or what happened to her, or that's going to be really hard. It's always negative. And I'm not saying that teenagers should go out and get pregnant, but it doesn't mean that we can't turn it into a positive and encourage these young women to do, wonderful things with themselves and not think that their life is completely over, that they can still thrive and they can make a decision that works for them. Whatever that decision may be, they can still have a life.
Exactly. And they need to start listening to themselves. And that's the biggest problem, especially when you're younger. You don't really understand that you do actually have all the answers inside of you. You are the best person to know what's right for you. As a mother is the best person to know what is right for their child. Stop listening to other people. Start listening to yourself. Start living and loving who you are and get in touch with who you are, because once you understand that, you truly will always do what's right for you. And to understand that you are the only person you are going to spend your entire life with. So why not start looking after yourself? Start putting yourself first. Stop giving up on your dreams. You can create them. And another great little saying, which I love, is, a man is not a financial plan.
I love that. I think that's so clever, and it's very true, and I think that should be spread around the world for sure.
All women should understand that. Yeah. All women should understand that, because if you're your financial plan, now I'm not saying you have to have everything separate from your partner and this and that, but if you know that you have to rely on you to get whatever you want in life, you are going to create so much more. You are going to be so generous. And you are going to have this amazing life because you know that it all starts with you. And then from there, you can have these amazing relationships, which is, I just love.
I wanted to ask now, that first pregnancy and that child, do you have a relationship with that child? Were you able to connect at some point later?
Yes, we did. I connected with her when she was 27, and she's going to be 45, believe it or not, in this year. It's been very much an up and down relationship. It's a work in progress relationship, and I have to say, it is getting better. It is getting easier. But just recently, she asked me to read this book, and oh my God, I wish I had read this book when I first connected with her. Our relationship would have been so much easier and so much different. It's actually called The Primal Wound, Understanding the Adopted Child. Mm-hmm. And it's written by Nancy Newton Verrier, Verrier. And if there's anyone listening who is either, and they call it the adopted triangle. So there's obviously the adopted child, the adoptive mother, and then the birth mother. And it's explaining how this triangle is so connected, even though the child is living with the adoptive mother, they still have this connection to the birth mother. They still have a memory of the birth mother. And they actually go through a abandonment, grieving process from the time they are born, because they expect to come into this world with this person, and then she's not there. And they're like, just completely thrown for six type thing. And it's actually a really hard book for me to read, because if I'd had that awareness at 16, there's no way I would have ever adopted her out.
Yeah. But you still, of course, you still feel like you made that right decision because you were so young at that time, and you may not have been able to give that child the life that maybe she had instead.
Exactly. And I always felt that If I had kept her, I probably would have married her father, and I probably would have had 3 kids by 20 and divorced. And that was never in my plan. I've been married for 40 years.
Yeah.
So I never, I wanted to get married and stay married. So it's very much, I know that, and it would have been completely different. And I actually say to her, we have an up and down relationship. I said, probably if I kept her, we'd probably still have an up and down relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know.
Yeah, definitely. It turns out different for everybody, and everybody's decisions, everyone's lives go in different directions, and anything could really happen. As you said, you had friends that went through the same thing as you, and everyone made different decisions. Not everyone, your one friend had the abortion. So, we all don't go through the same journey.
And the one who got married, she had 2 kids with the father, and she did get divorced. So, you know what I mean? And it's, it's unlikely that there's not many marriages, like teen marriages, that last the distance.
Yes, that's true. That's not something you see nowadays, for sure. Not unless we're talking back in the 20s, when people were getting married as teenagers, for sure.
Yeah. But to be quite honest, though, I have to say, if any teenagers have got married and they want to last the distance, I highly recommend reading and doing my programs, Live, Love, by Design, because you both would grow together. You both would have this new awareness, this new understanding, and that's all it is. There's no reason why you have to separate. If you both truly understand each other and you both truly are on the same path together, you can last the distance. But it's just an awareness. It's just a new perspective.
It's true. And as you said, the growing together part is so important. I think a lot of couples, everyone wants to grow, but I think sometimes we forget to grow together. And when we grow in opposite directions, we're going to end up having problems. We're going to have communication issues, and things may not go very smoothly.
Exactly. And that's all it comes down to, is actually, which is why I love the name, Live, Love, by Design. You design the life you want. And, I just think it's great when couples can stay together, especially when there's children involved. And I know a lot of people, they separate when the kids are older, but I have to tell you, that's harder on the kids than if they had done it when they were younger.
Yes, it is hard. They have that more awareness, and they're more connected to the parents, and to have that unit kind of split up, it can be very difficult and very confusing for children.
Yes, totally, yes. Yeah. So the best, the way to actually help with the Give Back to Teens project is I have these, there's heaps and heaps and heaps of different ways that you can donate and the prizes that you get. But the best one, I think, is you actually buy the online program, and you buy one and you give one away to a young woman. So it's like the 2-for-1 sort of thing, which I think is an amazing it's not only is it an amazing program, but it also gives this young woman, you sponsor the young woman into the project, which is, it's always great to be able to give when you receive.
Definitely. And I want to give our listeners the website for that, which is fundraiser, and that's razr.com/live-love-teen-project. And Karen's other websites are livelovebydesign.com and karenchaston.com.au. So I wanted to ask, before we wrap up, now with this teen project, what is next? I know you said you might be working on those videos that might be you wanted to use in schools. Is that something that you plan to complete?
Well, it is something. It's actually, now that you said videos, that's really interesting, because I was going to do literally a 4-week mini-series. Okay. But that's obviously going to take a lot of funds and a lot of time to do. But maybe you're right. Maybe just videos are right, because I have started, not that I've launched it yet, but I have started doing the Live, Love, by Design TV program, which will be an online sort of interviewing and chatting with conversations with people, which is great. And I plan to launch that on the 11th of the 11th, only because this year adds to 11. So it'll literally be 11, 11, 11, which I just love.
Yeah, I love
As an accountant, I love numbers. Obviously.
Of course.
So I plan to launch my online TV show then. But that's a really good idea, Kelly. Thanks for that.
Oh,
I think
no problem.
I will do some videos that just totally make sense to put into schools, because let's face it, and I know it's all right, this education system really does need a big overhaul.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I teach should be taught in school. And I know that's ridiculous to say because I'll be doing myself out of a job, but seriously, if you had this awareness and this understanding, and I'm currently working with a young lady who actually, she's 20, and earlier this year she had a baby, but unfortunately her baby was born at only 26 weeks pregnant and only lasted for 2 months. And she's going through a really, obviously a grieving process. And she's going through my program and she's literally like, oh, my God, this is amazing. I wish I had this awareness earlier. And she's 20. So that's what I'm saying. And she's a perfect candidate to be sponsored into the program. And it's like, yes, why isn't this stuff taught in schools? To actually understand, you put yourself first, not from an ego perspective, more from the more I look after myself, the more I can look after others' perspective. That's huge. That is a great way to live your life, just that one perspective.
I totally agree. And after all these conversations we've had, I really think that you could do anything. I mean, I think if you wanted to do some kind of program to get into schools, I could totally see you accomplishing it. And I think it would be a really great thing for schools to have, because just from what you've taught me in our conversations and what I know you help other people with, I think it's knowledge that is crucial. And I think it's so helpful for people to have.
Thank you, Kelly. But do you know what? Anyone can do anything. If you can think it, you can do it. And it's just a matter of understanding and working through your limiting beliefs and all that sort of stuff, because anyone can do anything. And that's what I'm really passionate about, assisting people to understand.
Wow. Well, Karen, unfortunately, we are out of time. But as always, thank you so much. I love speaking with you. I think you're amazing. I want to give our listeners your website one more time. Your website's livelovebydesign.com. An amazing program. Check it out, guys. KarenChaston.com.au and fundraiser.com/live-love-teen-project. Get involved, guys. Karen, as always, it's such a pleasure. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you, Kelly. I love chatting with you as well. I don't know where our conversations go, but they just go, don't they?
They just go, and I think they're great and informative.
Bye.
Bye-bye.